It's Flying Friday, which is a little bit late today. Might end up being closer to Saturday morning. Oh well, today's flying themed movie is Quackerz, which lives up to its title. It's one strange bird of a movie. Stereo-wise, it's a strong experience, comparable to even the mighty turtle's tail in many places. It frequently pushes out of the screen and is often a feast for the eyes. It goes well with its many exaggerated over-the-top character movements and frequent use of extreme angles and lens choices. All of this the stereo absolutely loves. It's a movie about ducks, and they seem to live in a world with steampunk technology, and junky metal contraptions show up so well in stereo. 3D likes junk, and it especially loves blocky junk. And there's never a missed opportunity here to exaggerate. There are frequent moments like this Looney Tunes binocular shot. There are some drawbacks to the stereo, which I'll mention, but whatever sin might be committed is more than made up for in the frequent and generous pop-out shots that happen throughout this movie. It is a good 3D experience. It's fun. Actual flying isn't really this movie's focus, and air acrobatics are not the highlight of the stereo either. In fact, I'd say anything in the sky from a stereo perspective was just not terribly great. Backgrounds were frequently left flat, which can be all right when there's a lot of camera movement, but when the eye has time to linger, I find it creates a bit of an uneasy feeling. It seems to cause my eye to strain a bit, like it's expecting to see something that just isn't there. Sometimes, especially on establishing shots, they'll leave it again completely flat and layer in some stereo dust and light flares to cover up their shortcuts. Oh well. Another issue I found was the background color palette often did not distinguish itself from the foreground, so they tended to blend in a bit and obscured some stereo separation. However, a good knife shot quickly makes you forget about any of that. And although there aren't a lot of examples, we do get some very pleasing window shots, showing both dirt and reflection on the window panes. Story-wise, if this movie were made today, it might be accused of being written by AI and translated to English by Google. Its use of English is not typical. And if this were a live-action movie, it might be compared to The Room or the 80s B-movie Troll 2. Though it's never quite bizarre enough to be funny in and of itself, but the dialogue and motivations often take some mental gymnastics to comprehend. A movie buddy thought the depiction of American ducks as brainless brutes gave it a propaganda feel. Not that I disagree, but I'm unsure if it's meant as that or if it's just meant for an Eastern audience. To the movie's credit, though, it does lighten up on them by the end. But be warned, this is a frequently bewildering experience. On my first viewing, I watched this with a group, and at a certain point, we all agreed that collectively, we had no idea what was going on. By the end, however, we were able to retroactively piece together what we didn't get in the first half, so it wasn't a complete descent into nonsense. And on a subsequent watch, I noticed that the missing information had been mentioned in the exposition, but it's information given in statements that are easily forgotten and often accompanied by unrelated cartoon hijinks, so you'd almost need a notepad to keep track of it. It does have an interesting subplot that explores an old but profound idea. Our main character is encouraged to stick to video games that we get a glimpse of in 3D, which is actually kind of neat to see a two-dimensional side-scroller in 3D. And he's encouraged to stick to them and not learn any skills like flying, which is awfully important for ducks. And this is sort of a way to keep him in a kind of soft imprisonment. And if that had been the main plot of this movie, this might have actually been a very profound story. Entertainment as chains, bread and circus. Perhaps unsurprisingly, that's a concept that doesn't get a whole lot of attention within movies, and I wish this movie dwelt more on the idea, as I think it's just an under-discussed matter. Our duck is unconcerned with the outside world, and his first hint that something might be wrong with that is actually when he meets a girl and is unable to fly up to meet her. And of course, danger arrives later. On a on a serious note, I'm probably not appropriate to bring it up, but it reminded me of a guy named CC Banana. And no, I'm not telling a joke. In fact, it was a very sad scenario that unfortunately gets played out all the time, at least in North America. He spent his life living at home, concerned with fun pursuits, and at a certain point he got a little bit of fame for dressing up like a banana rock star and showing up to concerts and conventions, what have you. Then one day his mother died, and having no means to support himself after a lifetime of play, found himself facing eviction to the streets in his 40s. It ended badly. He's not around anymore. And at the same time that that happened, a very similar story played out in my own neighborhood at the time. That guy ended up actually shot dead as they tried to drag him out of his childhood home. Sorry for being a downer, but all this to say, I came to realize at that time how real and common of a phenomenon that is. And there's something about entertainment that may not be a cause, but certainly helps facilitate it. Birds that can't fly out of the nest, they just sort of become sitting ducks. Boy, that's depressing. I ended on that, of all things.